Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm taking a look at every single Hogwarts extension that LEGO has made for the Harry Potter theme from 2018 onwards. You can see that there are 5 sets here. You have the Hogwarts Great Hall, the Hogwarts Whomping Willow. I've removed the Willow and the Weasley's Flying Car to just focus on the castle. Then we have the Hogwarts Clocktower, the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower, and then the Hogwarts Room of Requirement. Now, the Room of Requirement is not an official addition, but I'm going to show you guys where it can connect if you want to. But bear in mind that LEGO only officially gives a connection for like the 4 bigger sets and not the Room of Requirement. So let's get started by just looking at each of the individual sections. So as I said, LEGO has a recommended way to assemble these. So I have them arranged by release order first. So this is one set. Obviously, it's the Great Hall. And then each of these guys are subsequent sets. So there are different modules to these guys. Every single Hogwarts set has disconnectable modules except for the Great Hall. This is all one thing, but in the Whomping Willow, you can disconnect these little bits on the end, and I kind of broke Snape off there, but you can disconnect those. This tower part disconnects from the bridge. Then on the clock tower, the Yule Ball section disconnects from Dumbledore's office, which disconnects from the main clock tower. And then on the Astronomy Tower, you can disconnect the Viaduct entrance building from the tower and from the greenhouse. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can arrange your Hogwarts. I'm going to show a couple different configurations in this video, but you can really play around with it however much you want. So you start by connecting the Great Hall set to the Whomping Willow one right here. That doesn't change from LEGO's recommended connecting from 2019 or 2018. Now what does change is that previously in 2019, LEGO said to just put the clock tower on the end of the Whomping Willow. So, sorry, it's kind of hard to maneuver because I can't really keep the camera on the stand. So LEGO was kind of telling you to position the sets like this in 2019. Now in 2020, they're saying to put the clock tower on the other side of the Great Hall. So to connect the clock tower now, LEGO says take out the Yule Ball section. And you kind of have to look at the pictures to see this. But basically just connect the Yule Ball section here and then the tower. So the sets connect there just like that. Again, you just have to swap out that one module, but you can swap out whatever you want. If you wanted to put Dumbledore's office on the other side of it, you could do that too. And then the Astronomy Tower just connects to the other side of the Whomping Willow extension. And I'll show you where the Room of Requirement goes once we get inside. All right, so here is LEGO's recommended connection. You can see that you've got the Great Hall kind of in the middle with the Whomping Willow, and then you have the 2019 Clock Tower on that side and the 2020 Astronomy Tower. Now, to be architecturally accurate, the Viaduct entrance building would usually have a viaduct connecting it to the courtyard. So again, you could play around with this and try to angle the Astronomy Tower in a little bit further. Again, if you want to be more accurate, the Astronomy Tower is further behind the Viaduct entrance building. And then the clock tower is usually positioned behind the Great Hall facing out towards Hogsmeade. You can't really do that with the LEGO set because all of these are open around the back. So if you put it behind the Great Hall facing out, then you would be seeing the back from the outside. So that's why LEGO really just says to position them in a line, which some people don't like because it's just kind of approximating the shape of Hogwarts, but I think it looks really good. Now, I don't love LEGO's recommended thing because the clock tower isn't far back enough and Hogwarts is kind of supposed to end with the Great Hall. So now I'm going to show you guys my layout, which is how it fits on my shelf. All right, so sorry, before I show you guys my layout, I'm going to show you guys the interior of the layout that LEGO suggests. So I've populated this with as many minifigures as I can, except the ones from the CMF series because I kind of have those on their own shelf. So let's get started by showing you guys where you can connect the Room of Requirement. So the biggest problem with the Room of Requirement is that it's an interior section on both sides, so you don't really want it facing out. So the problem is that it uses these 1x2 Technic bricks with holes in the center, whereas the rest of Hogwarts for the most part uses these 1x1 Technic bricks. So while it looks like the Room of Requirement will slot perfectly in next to Snape's office in the Whomping Willow, see, it fits perfectly. It goes into the entrance hall. So this could be the interior of the room and that would be the secret passageway. The problem is that the bricks don't line up. If you put a 1x1 brick here instead of a 1x2 brick, it would fit perfectly. But the way it's built right now, it doesn't. So you'd have to modify that. I think that that would be a pretty good connection. But again, you would need a deep shelf or a table to display this on if you were going to do it that way. The way that I found to connect it is without any modification, just put Technic bricks on there. And you can connect it to the greenhouse. And so that way it's still kind of like an interior of Hogwarts. It is a little bit like on the outside because it's connected to the greenhouse. But I like that a lot more because then it also encloses the Viaduct entrance building and Astronomy Tower section for the Slug Club party. Starting with the Astronomy Tower, I've just positioned minifigures throughout it. I put Cho and Luna in the Ravenclaw dorm together. Here's the Slug Club party happening down here. I did put the CMF Neville in the greenhouse, where I'll also put Professor Sprout from Series 2 so that they can be looking at the mandrakes. Now, going into the Whomping Willow, I usually have the actual willow tree out there. I have Snape in his office. I have Hannah Abbott from the student accessory pack here. Harry and Ron from the advent calendar are in bed at the Gryffindor dormitory. The owlry is full of the extra Hedwigs. And then over here, I've got Slughorn from the Bricktober pack in the potions classroom. And I've got Hermione from the advent calendar in this little potions room in the Great Hall. Up here, I've got the Tom Riddle from the visual dictionary because I just didn't really know where else to put him. In the Great Hall, I've put some extra Harry and Hermione's along with some of the extra teachers from the advent calendar. Now, this is a great thing about this setup is that the Yule Ball is supposed to be in the Great Hall. They put it in the Clocktower, which was fine because it was just nice to get a Yule Ball section. But in LEGO's recommended connection, the Yule Ball actually becomes part of the Great Hall, which I think is a really great addition. So, you know, it just has the dancing feature. So I've got like some of the couples here. And then I have Harry and Hermione from Prisoner of Azkaban in the hospital wing, like getting ready to go rescue Sirius. I've got Moody and Bogart Snape in the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. Umbridge is down there looking out. And then I've got Yule Ball Dumbledore in his office. And so, again, this is just a really great like interior setup. But this does tie into the issue that I mentioned in the Astronomy Tower review, where there are so many potions rooms, okay? The Clocktower is free of it. But like starting over here, you've got like a potions room here, then part of a classroom, then another storeroom, then Snape's office, then Slughorn's office, then another classroom in the Viaduct entrance building. It's just that like half of these rooms are potions rooms, which is a little bit of overkill in my opinion. All right, so this is my personal Hogwarts display. As you can see, I connect the Clocktower to the Great Hall, and then I put the Whomping Willow and then the Astronomy Tower. Now, the reason I do it like this is because, again, this is what fits on my shelf the best. Like, everything is sticking out, like, a little bit, especially the Viaduct entrance building sticks off my shelf a little bit. But, I mean, I like this better than the Clocktower being tucked around the corner. And, yes, it's not architecturally accurate to Hogwarts, but, I mean, that's why I have the giant, like, UCS scale one. You know, like, I just like these sets because they're like a minifigure compatible version of Hogwarts. You know, like, they just like give you the vibe that you want. You know, like that tower isn't tall enough. It doesn't have the 3 like smaller towers sticking off the side, but it gives you enough. And so that's why I prefer this setup. Now, I could have probably made an even better setup if I wanted to disconnect all the little modules, because you'll notice that I didn't move around any modules. Like, you know, the Clocktower is all together as it is even in the instructions. I just put the Yule Ball section here. I didn't move it around or anything. Whomping Willow is everywhere it should be. Same with the Astronomy Tower. So again, like I could probably mess around and make something really cool by removing like each of those modules. But honestly, I just don't want to spend the time messing around with that because I found a thing that works for me. And maybe I will in the future. But, you know, like I really love this shelf. This is my little Harry Potter shelf. I have Hogwarts. Like I said, I have the Whomping Willow right here. It even fits the room of requirement. I have like some of the brickheads off to the right side. And then I've got Harry and Hedwig off to the left. I've got like the microscale Diagon Alley here. And then I have other Harry Potter stuff, bookmarks from the Noble Collection, a butterbeer mug from the studio tour in London, and like this like paperweight version of Hogwarts. And so, you know, this setup works perfectly for me. I hope you guys like mess around and try to find your own setups that work for you. I'm really excited to see how people mess around with their Hogwarts. And again, once I get through some of like the sets I still have to build, I'm going to have a lot of fun messing around with this and finding out like even more combinations for Hogwarts. But that's it for this video, and I hope this like helped you guys see how everything connects together. Bye for now.